The 2025 playoffs are fully in motion now. In the American League, the Tigers and Mariners are in a tight series, while the Blue Jays have been putting up some pretty crazy batting numbers against the Yankees and lead that series. On the National League side, the Dodgers rolled through the Reds and are in top form against the Phillies. The Cubs were able to hang on against the Padres and now play the Brewers, who continue to look like arguably the World Series favorites. Let's get into it. The MLB playoffs are into the swing of things. Wildcard series are wrapped up. We're into the divisional rounds. And gosh, man, for me, it was such a shock going from these wildcard games where it just felt like bullpen battles of like watching the Guardians play every night and like Scooble on that first game pitching amazing, lights out, and then now I go watch like a Dodgers game and they're ripping 14 runs.
Yeah, yeah. The offenses
Mhm.
have come alive. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's probably been the biggest shock for me is just seeing these crazy home run machines, making it clear that that is what wins World Series.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
I think I think especially watching Toronto play the past few nights, the thing that's the common narrative about playoff baseball is it's who is hot at the right times,
Mhm.
and frankly, it's a narrative because it's true, and yeah, Toronto is locked in. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. We're recording this on afternoon of Tuesday, October 7th. So Yankees, Blue Jays are playing game 3 tonight. What could be if the Blue Jays win again could be the final game and would complete the sweep. If not, I really hope the Yankees win tonight purely just because I want to see more of this baseball. And I would like to see the Yankees like really have a pretty good hitting performance. But yeah, I mean, Toronto is absolutely hot. The Dodgers, to your point, are also smacking around teams.
Yeah, but I think like what you just said, the Blue Jays look like the best team. They won game 1 10-1, game 2 13-7. They are
Yes.
crushing it on the offensive side. Dalton Varsho is batting 750 in the postseason and has a 2.7 OPS.
Yeah,
Just
I think he has
crazy.
15 total bases. Like across I think it's 6 hits, he has 15 total bases,
Yeah.
2 home runs. Like they don't even have Bo Bichette, who was their best
Mhm.
player the last month or so of the regular season, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But they don't even have Bo Bichette, and they are uh, torching the Yankees pitching so far. It's been very exciting.
Yep. Totally agreed. Blue Jays have Shane Bieber up to pitch tonight, is what it seems like. And we'll see what happens. I'm with you though. I would like to see. I want the Yankees to have a little bit of hope. I want them to
Yeah,
think they've got it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, but
uh,
this is why Toronto acquired Shane Bieber from Cleveland. Is
mhm.
I mean, basically, literally for this is to like this is the former Cy Young Award winner. This is our veteran. He's going to close out Game 3. That's the hope. And I really like watching Shane Bieber pitch. So whatever happens tonight, it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, we'll see if Vlad can kind of continue his just dominance, which is cool because he's Canadian and has been very good since he came into the league. I think 2019, but he's never been like great in the playoffs really. He's had a few decent playoff runs, but never this. He's right behind Varsho. In he's batting 667 and his OPS is 1.933, which is also otherworldly. It's
Well,
just somehow less than Dalton Varsho. It's just been so cool. I don't really have the full words for it, but when you get these kind of small sample sizes in the playoffs and some guys are just going off, and when they come to the plate, the broadcast shows their batting average and it's like over 500, and it's like one home run last night. Like it's really exciting stuff.
yeah.
I think playoff baseball brings a lot of people to watch baseball that don't watch it in the regular season, which is reasonable because it's a long slog in the regular season. Um, and yeah, I'm glad the games have been a lot of fun.
For sure, for sure, yeah. All right, we've talked about the heavy hitters. We got Toronto, we got the Yankees. Let's take a quick moment. We'll have a little funeral farewell to Ohio baseball, which is our previous baseball videos during the wild card series, which feels like so long ago now. We were naive, thought maybe the Guardians had a chance. The Reds, I don't think either of us really were believers in them taking over the Dodgers. But nonetheless, the Guardians were eliminated after a 6-3 loss to the Tigers. They had a great season, and I think like I saw a tweet about this, but the Tigers, like one of them was interviewed about like how they feel, even though they had such a poor September, and but still ended up obviously beating the Guardians. If like they still have any, if they're coming into the divisional series with any of that, like are they still feeling stale or are they like back to form? And he was like, man, like it doesn't matter who wins the division, it just matters who makes the playoffs, which is interesting. Like, or who makes it further in the playoffs, because like the reality is if the Tigers don't make it past this round, like the only thing that will be remembered from them this season is the fact that they lost the division to the Guardians in unbelievable fashion after being up 15 and a half games.
Yeah, I definitely, I think, get the sentiment of what he's saying. And if the Tigers have a great playoff run, then he is right. But it's all about storylines, right? Like we remember the storylines of sports. It's how we connect with it. And the primary storyline of baseball in the past through September was the Guardians, and both their comeback and frankly the Tigers kind of choking it. So I don't know if I fully agree with him, is the long story short.
Sure,
But there's some
sure.
truth. I mean, like, the 2025 NBA playoffs, if I had to guess, the Pacers, even though they lost game 7, and their playoff run will be more memorable than the Thunder and that team. Not
And
that the
OKC's first win. Ooh,
I
or
don't
like
it's
the
hard.
first game.
Obviously I'm
Yeah.
predicting something that'll happen, how, but it just felt like the Pacers had so much like energy and juice and storylines behind them, and that's what we remember. So I wouldn't be surprised. I guess I'll say it that way. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers are remembered more. And so I think to that point, the Guardians will probably be remembered more, unless the Tigers have a huge playoff run, which I think right now it's 1-1 at the time of recording. It's 1-1 with the Mariners, and they are, after the rain delay, they're in the third inning. So they are, this is a big game. Game 3 will be an important one. Gilbert's pitching for Seattle, so if the Tigers can get one over Seattle in this game, it'll be great for their chances. But yeah, I think the last thing I'll say with in our kind of crematorium, that's not the right word, our memorial for Ohio baseball, is it was tough to it was tough to see how outmatched the Reds were with the Dodgers. Honestly, purely just a pitching difference. Like the Reds pitching was good. Hunter Green had a pretty decent game, all things considered. It wasn't awesome. But the Reds faced Blake Snell and Yamamoto, and both of them were, just so awesome. And it's just a reminder of how ridiculous it is that the Dodgers roster is what it is, because their hitting is so good and they have acquired all these incredible pitchers that are all now somehow healthy for the playoffs. Like, we're really getting a glimpse of how dominant this Dodgers team can be, even though they weren't necessarily like the super team in the playoffs, or excuse me, in the regular season. So yes,
it's frankly stupid, pardon my French, that every day it feels like they are pitching on any other team in the league, that would be their ace. Like even Shohei is he's such a good pitcher. Like what he's sporting a 2.5 ERA, something like that. It's nuts, dude.
There's
their whole team.
It's there. We get a lot of Shohei Ohtani as baseball fans, even as just sports fans, and we probably don't even get enough of him. Like how incredible he, and just like unique and peerless he is. It's you really just can't say enough about him. Watching him strike out some of the best hitters on the planet and then turn around and hit a home run, and it's just like, how is this possible that we're watching this? So yeah, it is a little bit ridiculous. Also, I don't know if you need to say pardon your French for saying frankly stupid. I thought I misheard you when you said pardon my French, that you had like cursed or something.
No.
I appreciate the being really careful though.
No, but sometimes it does get me heated talking about really good baseball teams, because I just get like butthurt and jealous as like these fans of a small cap team where it's like just barely scraping by. All right, last thing I'll say about the Guardians and the Reds for that matter is I saw recently Jose Ramirez was on a talk show, and he was basically talking about like the future of his future in Cleveland, and he was kind of salty about. He sounded kind of salty about the way the team was formed this year. I think he probably didn't love the decisions that were made at the trade deadline, trading Bieber, and kind of feeling
Sure.
like we were wrapping things up, putting up the gloves for the year. Um, and he basically was like, Cleveland needs to make like some offseason changes. I think he gets to renegotiate his contract next year, so it'll be interesting to see how the Guardians handle that, because right now, I mean, it feels like holy smokes, he's our whole team. He honestly didn't have a great postseason. Remember in the last game, he got tagged out once and picked off once and on balls that he really should not have. And that honestly ended up really being a deciding factor in the series, where it's a Cleveland team that was not able to score very many runs. It's like if we get a runner on base, that we need to take advantage of them, and he kind of threw away two of them. And so, anyways, I'm getting a little bit salty again here as a Guardians fan, but I hope that happens, and I hope they rally around him, because I mean the city loves him. You go to a Guardians game, and every other person in the stands has a Jose Ramirez jersey on. It is crazy.
Yeah, it's both with Jose trying to do the whole like player manager thing and like, make some declarations to the press to change the team, and being by far the best player in his team. It's kind of thematically similar to a lot of the LeBron era, the late LeBron era Cavs, where it's like, you put up the poster of like the Cleveland players, and it's like one of the biggest stars in the sport, Jose or LeBron, and then like the cast behind him is like, maybe not all that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I'm curious to say. I mean, Jose, he didn't have a great postseason, but he is still by far the most deadly part of that lineup, and they're kind of scraping together with popsicle sticks, the rest of them. And yeah, I think you said it well. If someone gets on base, they like desperately need to bring that guy home, because like they're not going to get that many more chances, and that works. It sometimes that's going to work, but it didn't work in the postseason. So I won't be surprised they make some big changes.
Cool. Let's go ahead. We'll move on. Let's check in. We checked in a little bit already. You said Game 3 is happening actively as we're recording, of the Mariners and Tigers. This game, it almost feels like there's a bit of a disparity between the American League and National League in terms of just like the way that they play the game. The American League feels more dominant, more pitcher dominant, and the National League in some ways feels like, specifically with the Phillies and Dodgers, it feels more bat heavy. I think like the Brewers, great bullpen, so not so much them, but nonetheless, this Tigers Mariners game has been a bit of a tight one, man. Tigers won the first game 3-2. Yeah,
Yep.
and then Mariners won game 2 3-2 as well. So yeah, that's why I was getting a little bit confused. Julio Rodriguez has been kind of the star for the Mariners. He had in game 2 like a pretty sensational play there. Got an RBI double in the bottom of the 8th, drove Cal Raleigh in for the go-ahead run. They ended up winning that one 3-2. And so yeah, it's been an awesome, really exciting series to watch. Maybe not for us like a home run fans, but from a baseball standpoint, the game's been so competitive.
It's been super competitive. I think you're probably fair to point that out about the AL pitching has been really good. The Dodgers pitching in the NL has been very good, and of course Paul Skeens is in the NL. But I think otherwise, like simply, you have Skubal pitching for the Tigers, and he has been so awesome. Like, not to go too far back on this, but I think we were both watching Skubal pitch against the Guardians, and he was pitching great, and he was getting amped up, and then he had that 1-3 strikeout inning. It was just like, oh my gosh, like this guy is a complete freak.
Yep.
Anyway, it's been a scrappy, I think, 2 games for the Mariners so far. They haven't like unlocked a bunch of home runs. Jorge Polanco has hit 2, and he may have been the only home run so far for the Mariners. Don't quote me on that. There might have been one more that I'm forgetting, but he did hit a home run off Skubal. And then, yeah, between that, it's like Cal Raleigh and Julio kind of putting together hits, getting on base, and hopefully driving each other home. So
I think
they're going to need
Julio had a home run game 1, but
okay,
yeah,
cool.
But you're right though. It has not been a slugfest.
Yeah, they haven't been like uncorking the bat in the same way that some of the other teams, like Shohei already had that 2 home run game. I think Teo had a 2 home run game. Like, anyway, Eugenio has been very cold. Josh Naylor hasn't really done a ton, which are the 2 main guys that we had even pointed out. Like, these are the 2 guys the Mariners bought at the trade deadline that they're going to need that extra firepower to make a deep playoff run. And Eugenio especially is like very hot and cold. So maybe he's saving it for a better time than the LDS. Like, maybe he has a huge World Series or whatever it is. But yeah, the pitching's been great. Munoz, the closer for Seattle, has been
Mhm.
lights out. He's faced 9 batters, and none of them have even reached base. So if they can kind of keep all that going, even without Brian Wu, who is, I think he's like hurt his pec or something like that. I still think the Mariners have a great shot. But if they lose Game 3 and they go down 2-1 to the Tigers, it's going to be a tough sell. So, but I still think our prediction of Mariners to the World Series is looking pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll stand
I'm
by
still
it.
a truther. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Okay, let's flip it over onto the other side on the National League. We'll touch base on the Dodgers really quick because obviously we didn't see them in the wild card at all. Or sorry, we saw them in the wild card, but nothing.
No, nothing remarkable.
Honestly,
Yeah,
nothing nothing notable
no
because
challenge.
the games were snooze fest to some degree. In game one, Shohei pitched 6 innings, which is kind of exciting. Allowed 3 hits, 3 runs on 3 hits. Struck out 9 batters. He's so fun to watch pitch. I just love the way he delivers the ball. Really cool to watch him play, and then obviously go to the dugout, put on his helmet, and go out and bat. It's just so cool. And then game two, Dodgers won 4-3 against the Phillies. This was a really exciting game. I don't know if you caught any of the end of this game where the Phillies had like a late run by Nick Castellanos. Sorry, a late
Yeah,
hit by Nick Castellanos and scored 2 runs, brought the game within 1 run, and
yeah, it was
he
four to
ended up.
three, I think, at that point,
Yep, and
and no
then
outs, maybe.
I think 1 out at the time, and then Castellanos got tagged out at third trying to steal.
Dang.
He got picked off, which was so tough because then they had 2 outs, and then there was like a um,
Yeah,
yeah, play
ground
at
out or
first,
something.
right? Yeah, and that was sort of the end of the game there. But nonetheless, it was a super exciting game, and the Phillies really have looked very competitive with the Dodgers. Game three is scheduled for tomorrow, October 8th. The Dodgers are pitching Yamamoto. Philadelphia's pitching Aaron Nola. And it feels like, I mean, of course, right? Like, yeah, Phillies are going to have to make something happen, obviously. And nonetheless, though, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking, but it feels like the Dodgers have this one really under control.
They're gonna need a little bit of playoff magic for the Phillies, and especially I think Game 3 is at Dodger Stadium, which is it's been a very tough place to play this entire season. Yamamoto's pitching. He's been awesome, and they have Tyler Glasnow to come out of the bullpen. I think they've like indicated that he'll be kind of like a bulk relief pitcher if need be. So um, they're in a tough spot. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber both have not been they haven't really woken up. It feels like the first 2 games. Which, not as an aside, goes back to our kind of gripe, which is that it feels like all these series need to be best of 7, like purely just for. It's just gonna be so tough if like it feels like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber don't wake up for 3 games and then the Phillies are just out of the playoffs and they were the 2 seed, and it's like. Of course, there's something to be said for like you got to win the games that are in front of you, and I'm not going to say the Phillies like don't deserve to lose at that point. I'm just saying I'd rather see a longer series and see them. We'll touch on this later, but like Cubs Padres, that felt like that needed to be a way longer series, and it was over after just 3 because that's the wild card. Like I don't know, they play so many games. What's 10 more? Yeah. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that one, but it does feel like the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers have a dominant position. They're 2 up in the series right now, and they have maybe their best pitcher going Game 3. So I wouldn't want to be a Philly right now.
Tough time to be a Philly fan for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, moving along. Next topic wanted to talk about, and this is I feel like kind of we alluded to it a little bit earlier, talking about the wild card series where it felt like pitching battles, are home runs dead. Uh, my initial response to this is no, not even close. For good teams, home runs are very much alive, and it's even felt like that here in the postseason. Teoscar Hernandez for the Dodgers has 3 home runs this postseason. Jorge Polanco with the Mariners, like you had said, has 2 home runs. Um, and then Dalton Varsho, who I talked about, also has 2 home runs. Shohei's got 2. There's like multiple players that we are seeing having multi home runs over these series, and so it feels like that's still the way that these teams are winning. And I would not say they are dead. The big hitters are winning.
I really don't disagree. I think the only pushback I would have is it does feel like teams need to be it feels like we may have swung the pendulum too far towards the whole three true outcomes kind of thing, and that teams need to be comfortable still winning if they can't, if the power isn't there. I think of a team like the Yankees. Honestly, they are a very free swinging power team, but if they're not hitting the ball well, it feels like they don't have another game plan. Whereas, like I would say, the Dodgers are a really good example of a very power heavy team that also can win with other game plans if they're facing, you know, a pitcher who has a bunch of off speed stuff or something like that, and the power is just like not as much going to be there. And so I think the Brewers have showed us a really good example of this. Like the Brewers are up right now 2-0 on the Cubs, and Jackson Chourio hit a huge home run to put them up, I believe 7-3. But before that, it was a lot of just like classic what the Brewers have been doing all season, like getting people on base and driving them home. And so, you know, it's not really the best analysis to say like, hey, you should be able to hit home runs and also get base hits. It's like, yeah, duh, that's like that would be awesome. But I do think just like game planning wise, for these playoffs, I think that's going to be one of the bigger narratives that we're going to see is like, home runs are not dead, but if you're just relying on home runs, it if you go cold, it's going to be tough. Like that's kind of what happened to the Padres. Like the Padres had basically no home runs and they had like basically no offense, and it felt like they were kind of selling out for that power. So that would
Yep.
be the thing I'd add.
Yeah, pitching can definitely it can keep you alive in a game, but it feels like not for a series, right? Like your best pitcher, your ace, will keep you alive for a game if your guys are cold during a game. But if your
Yeah.
batters, if your hitters are cold for a whole series, you're gonna lose. Like pitching can only get you so far in general, I'll say, because you know most teams don't have the Dodgers bullpen. But I think the Brewers are that next best team when it comes to like bullpen depth. Um,
Yeah.
and especially, did you see what Mizorowski did? I mean, he looked
That
awesome.
was
He threw
awesome.
multiple 104-mile-per-hour pitches.
It was awesome. And having him coming out like just like your middle innings, like that has got to be so demoralizing. Like,
I know, right?
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. We'll move to our next topic, which is sort of about the bullpen games. Which it's funny because like I think, watching throughout the season, a lot of times you'll pick up on certain teams will play a guy like their ace will go out and pitch 7 or 8 innings, whereas other teams, like I think about the Guardians a lot here, because obviously I watch them so much, but they will pitch consistently 7, 8 guys a game.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and I think like they're a team that tries to play these bullpen games in terms of like, all right, we've got this left-handed hitter coming out. He, does poorly against right-handers. We got to throw our right-hander guy in, let him pitch for just this at bat, and then we'll go back to the lefty. And I think that's always really fun to see. But sometimes it almost feels like a gimmick, and it's like, all right, what are we really doing here? And I haven't seen so much of that this postseason. It feels like a lot more, I go watch Skubal pitch 7 innings or Yamamoto pitch for 7 innings. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a lot of bullpen game, I think, talk in the regular season. Even some of the best teams, like the Mets, for a while, were like only letting all their starters go 5 innings, and then
Mhm.
real quickly you get to like 6 pitchers in that game. There's been, I've seen it a few times this postseason. Like Shota Imanaga, who's one of the Cubs' best pitchers, only pitched for like he had an opener in the wild card game, and then he only pitched for 2 innings in the game last night against the Brewers. The Padres in their closeout game against the Cubs, they pitched Yu Darvish for just 1 inning, and then they had Michael King, who was like one of their best starters in the regular season when he wasn't injured, come out for just 1 inning. Dylan Cease only pitched less than 4 innings. Brian Bayo only pitched like 2 innings. Like they've been these guys who are like full-fledged starters in the regular season are only pitching a little bit. I mean, frankly, a lot of the starts that I just mentioned were because they got rocked and the pitcher or the manager was like, pull them before it gets worse. And so I think it's just one of those things. The playoffs are so high pressure that you don't want to leave a guy out there for like an out extra than you should have. And so it feels like teams are being extremely liberal with like, pull a guy and then we'll put one of our other starters in for an inning in the middle. Like even Mizrowski like started a bunch of games for the Brewers in the regular season, and now he's like coming off the bench to pitch in the middle. So it kind of feels like bullpen games are definitely happening. But that said, I would rather be a team like the Dodgers that has starters that I'm confident can go over 5 innings. Like that
Right.
just feels better. And that's kind of one of the things that you and I had like indicated when we were kind of trying to predict is like who has the really reliable starters. And yeah, right now it feels like it all goes back to LA. But it is interesting. I mean, the Brewers I think are the main ones that are, it feels like they're going to implement a, even if let's say they make it to the World Series, like we'll probably see 2 bullpen games from Milwaukee if I had to guess.
Yep.
Because they have a lot of great pitchers, but not a lot of them are like that super tenured veteran who can pitch for a lot, like a workhorse type pitcher. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, and honestly, I think teams that play like that can sometimes they can fare better in the playoffs when you're not so reliant on your guy to go out there and get Ks. Like, yeah, I mean, we've seen, especially like with Skubal in September, how he didn't was not pitching great for a while there. Obviously, turned it on now, but nonetheless, it feels like when you have a bunch of different guys that you can have pitch for just a couple innings at a time, feels a lot better. That
Yeah,
feels like a nice spot to let's move into bet, your best pitching performance so far, or your biggest pitching performance so far that you've seen this year. So for me, I'll lead us off here. Hopefully I don't steal yours, but it's going to be Blake Snell having a 6 shutout inning with 9 strikeouts in game 2 against the Phillies. And this is part of why, like, you know, you watch that game and the Phillies made a game of it at the end somehow, even
right.
with that crazy performance. But nonetheless, I mean, he just looked phenomenal. I was honestly surprised they pulled him with how good he was playing.
His pitch count was getting up there, and
Yeah,
the Dodgers manager Dave Roberts has this weird fascination with some of their closers or relievers like Blake Trinan and Tanner Scott, who frankly have been really really bad this season, at
yeah,
least for the level they're being paid to be. Um, but they just like I guess found in the back of the bullpen Roki Sasaki, who we all kind of forgot about was like a big offseason signing, and now he comes out and is throwing 100 miles an hour and these splitters that dive off your screen, and it's like okay, awesome Dodgers, glad you guys have that as well.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a huge performance, and I was upset that Dave Roberts pulled him, but also yeah, his pitch count was getting up there. So yeah, it is what it is. For me, the biggest pitching performance so far was pretty a slam dunk here for, or I guess more fittingly, a home run was Cam Schlittler, the rookie for the Yankees. He started the season in Double A, and then the Yankees had some injuries. Specifically, Clark Schmidt tore his UCL, and so he went down. I think that's when Schlittler got pulled up to the major leagues, and he was really good. In like across, I think it was 10 or so starts in the regular season, but I mean, no one was expecting this. He went for 8 innings against the Red Sox in a closeout game against one of the Yankees' biggest rivals, had 12 Ks. And I mean, a rookie getting pulled to 8 innings in his playoff debut is insane. He
Yeah.
looked unhittable. Like the Red Sox looked like they had literally no chance with that. I'm sure if I was a Boston fan, I would just be praying that for some reason they pulled him. And frankly, the Yankees manager is liable. Aaron Boone is like liable to do some silly stuff like that. But I was really glad he kept him in just for it was so awesome to watch him pitch. He was pitching like near 100 plus in some of his pitches with like command in the strike zone. And he's 6'6", so he's letting the ball go like so close to the plate already. Like it was so awesome. And he's going to have, no matter what he does, the Yankees fans are probably always going to love him for this, but he's going to have a lot of expectations on his shoulders going into 2026 season. So, yeah, but that was a big one.
That's a good pick, especially doing that in game 3, like you know, the
Yeah,
shutout game. Yeah, it was awesome. That was a cool play.
really cool.
Okay, we alluded to it a little bit earlier with the demise of the Padres. Dude, they were nowhere to be seen during their
Yeah.
series. Oh gosh, camera going crazy. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
um, but yeah, so for me, talking about the Padres, they scored a total of runs in a 3-game series. Oh, you still got me?
I still got you.
Uh, um, but yeah, like I said, they scored 5 runs in a 3-game series. You're not going to win playoff baseball doing that. And for me, this drove home a point that I really believe about the playoffs in baseball is that your top guys have to be hot.
Yeah.
especially when you're a team that doesn't have a ton of them. Those guys have to be on. Think about like even Aaron Judge last year with the Yankees. Like even though Juan Soto was playing phenomenal in the playoffs, even in the World Series, he really had a good series.
Hmm.
Judge was nowhere to be found, and that kind of felt like that was one of the big reasons they lost. And so when you got a guy like Fernando Tatis, Luis Suarez, and Manny Machado, they went 4 for 33, batted 121 for the series. Um, that's just tough, and you're not gonna win playing like that.
I think it's exactly right. Especially like those guys are in the heart of the lineup for a reason, and if you're getting to the heart of the lineup and then your main guys are posting goose eggs, it's like, well, all the momentum that could have been there was is gone. And so I think you're totally right about the Stars. I mean, that's it's not too hard to kind of realize that. I will give the Cubs a lot of credit. Their defense was truly incredible. Dansby Swanson at the shortstop, and of course PCA at center field, like fully lights out. I mean, there was a lot of kind of ticky tack hits that the Padres could have got through. It felt like the infield that they didn't, because Swanson stopped it, or if they like blooped it over his head, then PCA was there. Like they never they never let the Padres kind of get rolling. But to kind of the point we were talking about earlier, it's like, okay, if the get on base kind of hit some singles approach isn't working, you should have the game plan to hit home runs. And I think they only hit one in the whole series, and that's just like, it's just not going to work.
I like the idea of having hitting a home run being a game plan. Yeah, I think you're right. Manny Machado did. He had a 2-run homer in game two. And that coincidentally was the game that they won. Um,
Exactly.
and yeah, but you're right. I mean, that's what it takes. And if your other guys aren't on, that's the final answer. It's like, all right, let's start swinging for the fences, and you see that a lot.
Right. I think we should go be hitting coaches and just tell the guys to hit it a little bit farther and a little bit
Yeah,
longer. And I think we'll probably get paid a lot of money for that. So
right, right.
maybe that's our next career.
Given that my video is completely shut off, I think this is the world, the gods trying to tell us that we need to cut it. So we'll call it there. See how this Mariners game finishes. The Mariners are up 3-0 in the top of the fourth as of recording right now. So see what happens.
Dang. It's nice. Neither of our teams are in the playoffs anymore. It's not nice. We hate that, but it's nice to watch playoff baseball with no ties. So this is kind of fun.
Totally, for sure.
Alrighty. I
All right.
hope you come back soon. See you, Kyle.
Yeah, man. Me too. See ya.